54. So, Vayomer Hashem el Avram. You notice his name is Avram at this point. His name has not been changed yet. Lech Lecha me'artzecha mimoladecha mibeis avicha el ha'oretz asher arecha. Go from your land, your birthplace, and your father's house to the land that I show you. Avraham Avinu had 10 tests. There were 10 tests for Avraham Avinu. And the tests, according to the Mefarshim, are in a progressive order of difficulty, culminating with the test of the Akedah, culminating with the test of the binding of Yitzchak, and where it's the Shech Yitzchak. Now you'll notice, if you just skip on ahead very quickly, turn to Parsha's Vayera, right at the end of a Parsha on page 100. And you notice that it says like this, second line on page 100, where it introduces, he says, Vayomer, Kachna es bincha, take your son as Yechidcha, your only son, Asher Ahavta, who you love, as Yitzchak, V'lech Lecha el Eretz HaMoriah, and go to the land of the Moriah. So the Akedah begins with the same expression, Lech Lecha, the same expression as what do you call it over here? It starts off with Lech Lecha. So if you look at Rashi now, back on page 54, look what Rashi says about Lech Lecha. Rashi says, Lech Lecha, go for you. Lech, go, Lecha, for you. Lech Lecha. Be careful, there's a camera right behind you. Lech Lecha, go for you. Says Rashi, what does it mean for you? What does it mean go for yourself? It also doubles as a gun, so I saved your life just now. So you owe me. The Lech Lecha, lehana'ascha, for your benefit, uletovascha, and for your good. What's your benefit and your good? Sham escha legoy gadol, there I will make you into a great nation. V'kan, here, iyata zocha labanim, here you're not going to have children. There, you're going to have ve'od, skip the parentheses, she'odia tivacha ba'olam, I'm going to make you famous in the world. So by you going now, it's going to be for your benefit and for your good, and the Torah spells out how. Now that's very interesting, because later on it uses the expression Lech Lecha, and that sounds like Rashi's telling you that that's what Lech Lecha is indicating. Yet later on when it says Lech Lecha, Rashi doesn't say a word about any benefits. Yet it seems that the word, the expression Lech Lecha means for your benefit. Yet it doesn't say that, and certainly doesn't sound like when you're being told to go up onto a mountain and shech your son, that it's going to be a benefit for you. So Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says, well, you see that it is a benefit. That means, A, even those things in life which seem unpleasant, so help yourself to a chumash. There are chumashim down over there. Even those things in life which seem like they're not very pleasant, ultimately it is for our benefit. That's the first lesson. If Lech Lecha over here is for our benefit, Lech Lecha over there is for our benefit, number one. And number two, you see that in the end of the Akedah does turn out to be a benefit. Because he didn't end up having to shech them, because God never had intention that he would actually kill him. And that the fact that Avraham Avinu was willing to do it turns out to be a merit for the Jewish people to this day. So the Torah, even when we don't know in life why something is our benefit, we don't know why it's our benefit. The Gemara uses the example of two guys who are going on a business trip, and one guy gets a thorn stuck in his foot, and therefore he misses the boat, and he's cursing his fate. And then the next day he finds out the boat sank. Right? So now all of a sudden he sees that thorn was for his benefit. All of a sudden he sees that thorn was for his benefit. I know a guy who ended up with he was in the hospital for 9 days. I think he had a burst appendix or something. I don't remember what it was. The guy it was an emergency situation. You know, he ended up in the hospital for 9 days. But because he was in the hospital for 9 days, he came out of the hospital and quit smoking, because he had stopped smoking for 9 days. So I don't know if that's a benefit or not. But what do you call it? Apparently it is. And that was a joke, by the way. And so you know, at the time, person's wondering, well, why is this any good? But it turns out that, hold all the questions for a few minutes, Alicia, okay? Just for a few. I want to cover a few points, then we'll take the questions. So the Torah begins here with the words Lech Lecha. Now, I think I told you once, my younger brother, who from the earliest age had a very penetrating, logical mind, sometimes annoyingly so, because he always saw things through the lens of logic. And he was given an assignment in school. I think he was 9 years old, maybe 10 years old. He was given an assignment in school. They gave him a list of words, and you have to use these words, make a sentence with each word. Remember those assignments from school? It gives you a list of words, 20 words, and write a sentence with words, like an English class, write a sentence. He was 10 years old. He always felt that, monkey work is, for what? It's just busy work. It's not necessary. And so, he had a list of words like, telephone, basketball, light bulb, aardvark, and then you make a. So he went home and he figured out the shortest sentence you could write in the English sentence with the possible, and he wrote, which would count as a sentence because that was the assignment, write a sentence. So he wrote, I am a basketball, I am a telephone, I am an aardvark. I am a thing. He wrote 20 sentences, which my parents were very amused by it. By the teacher, not as much. And but technically, it works. Those are the shortest sentences. The first communication to the first Jew in history, Vayomer Hashem el Avraham. First time we see God speaking to Avraham Avinu, first Jew in history. God says Lech Lecha, 2 words, 4 letters, which encapsulate the entire destiny of the future of the Jewish people. 2 words, hold all questions and comments. 2 words, 4 letters, which encapsulate, I'll take the questions later, I'll take the comments never, I'll take the questions later, and we'll see. 2 words, 4 letters. So the first thing is, Lech Lecha means go. You're going to be in motion. And we are known as the wandering Jews, because we've always been wandering. We've been moving from place to place. Since time immemorial, Jews have been on the move. We've gone to exile. We've gone to exile second time, which one of the commentaries actually points out that's Lech Lecha, that's twice. Lech Lecha refers to the 2 exiles. There's the first Beis HaMikdash and there was the second Beis HaMikdash. After the second exile, then we'll build the third Beis HaMikdash, or we'll no longer be in exile. But we've certainly been moving around, except for a short period of time relative to history, relative to world history. It was a very short period of time that the Jews were in Eretz Yisrael, and it was even shorter time when they were in Eretz Yisrael that they were the zenith of their success. Because for many years they were, even, Hanukkah is coming in about 6 weeks, something like that, 7 weeks, whatever it is, and that's called the Greek exile. Yeah, but gentlemen, that's a strange thing because it's a Greek exile in Eretz Yisrael. They were in Eretz Yisrael. It's a Greek exile. We are right now in exile. We are in Eretz Yisrael. We are very much in exile. We're not just in the Geula. We're very much in exile. So we're always going to be moving around. As a matter of fact, it's an interesting phenomenon. Every city I've ever gone to in America, London, South Africa, and no matter where you go and around the world, you will always find wherever the Jews live, the Frum Jews, the Jewish community, there's always the old Jewish neighborhood. It used to be on the south side, now it's on the north side. It used to be on the west side, now it's on the east side. There's always the old Jewish neighborhood and the Jewish neighborhood that moved. And Rav Gifter, that's all who was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Telz Yeshiva, Rav Gifter said that, sometimes the Jews move because, the neighborhood changes, undesirables move in. That's just superficial. That's just HaKadosh Baruch Hu's way of getting us to move. In other words, why are we moving? We're moving because of the undesirables. We're moving because Hashem says, hey, I want you to write and to know something. While you're getting comfortable in Chutz La'aretz, while you're getting comfortable in exile, I want you to know that you're in exile, so I'm going to move you around a little bit. Right? Don't you have an old Jewish neighborhood in Los Angeles, an old Jewish neighborhood in Philadelphia, there's an old Jewish neighborhood in London, there's an old Jewish neighborhood in Chicago, probably a dozen old Jewish neighborhoods in New York. Everywhere you go, there's the old Jewish neighborhood. Now there's the new Jewish neighborhood. And it's just Hashem's way of reminding us. By the way, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky is one of the Gedolei Hador. So I've mentioned this before. You know that Golden Dome? There's that Golden Dome just 15 minutes away from here. Mm-hmm. And it's the the mosque on the Temple Mount, terrible thing, right? Terrible. We see a mosque on the Temple Mount. Said Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, it's not such a bad thing. Because it's a reminder to us that we're in exile. And we need that reminder. That mosque, obviously we'd rather, I had a friend in high school that said he couldn't wait for Mashiach to come because he wanted to see the Golden Dome explode, blow up. And he's a very deep guy. Right? He's in prison now. But I don't know that it's going to be blown up, and I don't know that it's real gold. I don't know anything about it. But I had another friend in high school tell me his goal in life was to become a shepherd. Because then you get to lie out in the grass and do drugs. So they're also a deep guy. So they're in prison together. So what do you call it? So number one, Lech Lecha is a prediction of what's going to happen to the Jews physically. This is to Avraham Avinu. He's the father of the first father. Lech Lecha, you're going to be in perpetual motion, except for a very short period of time, number one. Number two, one of the great Rishonim, Rabbeinu Bechaye, who's actually a disciple of the Ramban. So we're talking about early Rishonim. And he says the word Lech Lecha is related to the Hebrew word lichluch. What does that mean? Dirt. And that means that lichluch, Lech Lecha, if you put the words together, it really spells out, the root of it is the word lichluch, which means that one of our functions as Torah Jews is to get away from the filth of our society. Lichluch, get away from it, move away from the dirt. And, we live in a vulgar world. I tell you travel through airports, it's just gross. What can I tell you? I'm not talking about the people, just the advertisements, the people. You can't pick your head up, and it's crude, it's vulgar, it's gross, and it's appealing to the worst, the most base human instincts. And a Torah Jew, our goal in life, get away from that filth, get away from that garbage, the garbage of the society. So they had, I don't know if you're aware of it, when in about 2000. I don't know, maybe about 2010, around 2010, they had a massive gathering at, what's it called, Citi Field? Mm-hmm. Citi Field, where is that? Who plays in Citi Field? The Mets. I was like, I don't know how we're supposed to get away from the garbage, but okay. See, if it was just Wrigley Field, then that's already Kedusha. But if it was where the back, so they had a massive gathering at Citi Field, the technology gathering, which was headed by Rabbi Matisyahu Solomon, who was the Mashgiach of the Lakewood Yeshiva, about making people aware of the disasters and the dangers of internet use. Now, people objected to it, and he had somebody came over and said, "Listen, what do you, get with the program? I mean, internet is here to stay." What would you say? Would you tell we should also not use cars because cars are dangerous and therefore we should go back to the horse and wagon? So Rabbi Solomon said to this guy, cars have rules. You have to have a license. You have to be a certain age. There are stop signs. There are red lights. There are fines if you break the law. There are all sorts of laws for driving. No parent would allow their 11-year-old child, just get in a car and drive. And no parent himself without a license would get into a car and drive. He said, you're absolutely right. I didn't say you shouldn't use the internet. I said there have to be safeguards and there have to be rules. There have to be filters. There have to be all the things that go with it. That's the lichluch. It's the filth of the society. And we have to ourselves, each person has to know where their weakness is and where. That's number two. Number three, Lech Lecha means go, move, grow spiritually. Grow as a Jew. We weren't put in this world to be stagnated. We weren't put in this world to be pumpkins that stay in one place. We were put in this world, Lech Lecha, to go, to grow, to achieve. And the goal of a Torah Jew, I told you, there are two types of Jews. There are really two types of Jews. Whether you're Ashkenaz, Sfard, whether you wear a shtreimel, a gartel, a bekish, I don't care what it is. At the end of the day, there are only two types of Jews. There are those that are growing and those that are stagnating. And if you're stagnating, I say guys who are looking to get married and they ask what they should look for in a girl, I say I would much rather a girl who has not got a lot of education, but she's focused on growth than a girl who could quote you every Ramban by heart, but she's basically stagnating. There's no such thing as this is the level and that's it. We are here to grow. Our goal in life is to grow. And therefore the word 2 letters, 2 words, 4 letters, and you've got the entire future, the destiny, and the purpose of Judaism is encapsulated in these 2 words. Now, the next question here is, Alicia, you were going to ask something before. Question, not a comment. You had a question before. Somebody else had a question. Mike, you had a question?
No.
Okay. Ooh, that's strong water. Well, you don't know what I've got in there. The guy gave me a shot when I was in England. He gave me some a Glenmorangie, which I normally like. I don't know, it was a strange looking bottle. It wasn't the regular bottle. And I had it like Friday night after the fish. He gave me some, and I shot a Glenmorangie. It was so harsh. I was like, what do I need? I don't need this pain. I got enough issues in my life. I don't need to create pain for myself. So having said that, there was the other Glenmorangie, which is pretty smooth, actually. And my birthday's coming up. What do you call it in 6 months? Let's start saving now. The other thing is like this. What was the first test of Avraham Avinu? What was the first test? Second test. Yes, to go into the flaming furnace, which was the furnace. The Mefarshim say that furnace that Avraham Avinu with Nimrod, where he was told either you worship idols or you go into Ur Kasdim. That was the furnace that was used by the men who built the Tower of Babel in order to make their bricks. So we're talking about a very hot furnace. A very hot furnace. And that furnace was the one that Avraham Avinu. Now, Avraham Avinu refuses to bow down to as he gets tossed in. And then his brother Haran is asked this, but he says, well, I'm with him. And he gets tossed into, and he comes out, he gets burnt. Remarkably, by the way, remember the 2 sons of Aaron who died, Nadav and Avihu? And Avihu. How did they die?
They did an offering. Fire up their nose.
2 threads of flame went into their nostrils. And they died and burnt the insides. Their outsides were not burnt. What's the idea of a death like that? What does that mean? The insides were burnt and the outsides weren't burnt. Why? I mean, if you're going to burn him good. Why? What's the difference? He's dead anyway. So burn it, make it burn it good. Why char it out? What is the symbol? What's the depth of the idea?
Worshipping the idols.
What?
Your intentions were not right.
Oh, that means that if we were there, we wouldn't have seen the Avera so clearly. In other words, their misstep was such a subtle misstep that it was hidden from most people. You would have thought they were doing the right things, and they certainly had the right intentions. And if we were there, we would have seen it. It wasn't so clear that there was a mess up over here. Now, I want to ask you something. Avraham Avinu is facing a furnace that burns bricks. And he says, I'll go in. And they throw him in. Okay? And so the Medrash says that Haran was like, well, if Avram survives, I'm with him. And if he doesn't, then I'm with Nimrod. I want to ask you a question. If you were the second guy there, I don't care if Avram survived or not. If I'm the second guy there, I'm still going to increase my odds. You're still better off not being in that furnace than going in and taking your chances. So why is he willing to go in? The answer is that Haran, it wasn't quite, because the Medrash says he didn't burn on the outside. He only burned on the inside. In a furnace where they made bricks, and he only burnt on the inside. That means that by him also, he wasn't off by that much. That means he had a son, Lot. He has a son, Lot. And what comes from Lot? What comes from Lot? Mashiach. Mashiach comes from Lot. So Mashiach's coming from. So Haran has got something. It wasn't that blatant. He wasn't the ultimate fair weather fan. Oh, if they win. He wasn't a fair weather fan. He was a man of very great faith to go into a furnace. I wouldn't have gone in. I'd play the odds. The odds are still better the other way. But, so it's that, now, at the end of the day, that's test number one.
According to
The Meforshim. The Meforshim say that the tests are at a gradual level of difficulty, like in the Olympics, the platform dive. 3.7 degree of difficulty, kaboom. Well, that was a little too difficult. so there's the what do you call it? There's the degree of difficulty. Now, what's this test over here? The test is Lech Lecha, get up and go. Travel is no fun. Avraham Avinu did not have a business class ticket. They're on camels. He's with his family, and he's moving. But I got news for you. As bad as it is, hot furnaces are worse. So you're traveling, and you're going to go, and it's dusty. But as bad as it is, the other one's worse. Furnaces is still worse. Why is this considered a more difficult test that God says to Avraham, pick up and go? Why is this considered a more difficult test than the test I'll jump into it. He didn't know he was going to be saved. Avraham didn't know he was going to be saved. He went into the furnace and he was saved. Why is this considered a more difficult test? What do you say?
Because giving up your life is a one-time event, and dedicating your life to a righteous way is a long lifetime journey.
Okay, giving up your life is a one-time. What do you need, Josh?
I'll just.
Do it later, okay? Do it later because it's a little disruptive. If you're doing something else, what do you call it? Put it away if possible. Just put it away. Yeah.
It's about Rashi.
I know. Just put it away. Rashi will be there afterwards also. It's a disruptive. It's distracting to me. I have ADD. Those are my grades in high school. The A, by the way, stood for absent. You see, it is a one-time thing, but it's still death. What would you do if you had a choice? There are a lot of people who would rather, as a punishment in prison, they would rather have a life sentence. Most people have their sentence, if there's a death penalty, they sentence the guy to death penalty, they'll have it commuted to a life sentence. Would you rather have the life sentence or would you rather have the death penalty? Death penalty is a one-time thing. They probably have it a ride as the amusement parks now. Hey, the electric chair. They probably must have something. Yeah, it's a one-time thing, but most people would rather have the lifetime sentence. So this is a hassle and everything else, but the other one is death. So there are several ideas here. Idea number one is Avraham Avinu is an ideologist. To die as an ideologist, people through history have done that. What was that guy's name in the United States? Patrick Henry. Isn't he the guy who said, I regret that I have but one life to give for my country?
he said, "Give me liberty or give me life." You're thinking of Nathaniel.
Who said I regret? Who said I regret?
That would be Nathaniel Hale.
Oh, Nathaniel Hale. Okay. And what did Patrick Henry say?
Give me liberty or give me death.
Give me liberty or give me death. Yeah. Give me liberty. Okay, buddy, you asked for it. Kaboom. No, I was kidding. Sorry, you said. I once saw a cartoon of who was it who said that? Patrick Henry? Yeah, they had a cartoon of a young Patrick Henry sitting at the table. He says, "Give me the liver or give me death." Sitting at the young, and the mother said, "Calm down, Patrick. We'll pass it to you." So yeah, at the end of the day, it's still death. It's still death. But an ideologist is willing to die for a cause. Here, Avraham Avinu looks like a total fool. He's packing up, and people are saying to him, "Where are you going, Abe?" Yeah, I don't know. Why are you going? The Lord spoke to me. And what did he say? He said to get moving. To where? Didn't say. For what? Didn't say that either. And now you're going to look like an absolute fool because of the differences. That's one of the opinions. The other opinion is the difficulty of the test is based on the subtlety of the decision. In other words, Should I jump into the flame or worship idols? That's very clear. You got to give up your life to jump into the flame. It's very clear what to do. It's only having the guts to do it. There's certain tests in life where the test is there's a pepperoni pizza sitting in front of me. It's not kosher. I'm hungry and it's sitting in front of me, but I know what I should or shouldn't do. That's not difficult. What's difficult now is just mustering up the willpower. There's another test where I'm not sure if I should stay home and help my wife with the kids or if I should go off to shul and daven. Now, which one should I do? It's a test. And sometimes you have to do this one and sometimes that one. Avraham Avinu is told by God, I want you to abandon your elderly father, leave all the kiruv work you've been doing, get on some camels and ride off till I'll tell you where to go. And then Avraham Avinu says, oh, he's just testing me. He's just testing me. He doesn't really mean it. He can't possibly mean it. Look at all the good I'm doing here by bringing people to monotheism, and I'm honoring my father over here. He doesn't really mean it. That's the subtlety of the test. The subtlety of this, I should really do it or not do it? Does he really mean to do it or not? And that's sometimes, remember the Gemara that says that the heavenly voice came out when Rabbi Eliezer was arguing with Rabbi Yoshua? And God said, why are you messing with Rabbi Eliezer? The halachas like him. And Rabbi Yeshua gets up on his feet and he says, Lo b'shamayim. No, you gave us the Torah and you said that the Torah, we determined it based on the majority. And then the Gemara says that one of the Tanoim saw Eliyahu Hanavi. He said, what was God doing while that argument was going on in the Beis Medrash? He said he was smiling. He said, my children have defeated me. That means God threw him a curveball. He wanted to see if they would know not to obey the Baskol. The heavenly voice said, if I heard a heavenly voice, I would do it. They heard a heavenly voice. It said the halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer. And Rabbi Yeshua says, nope, you gave us a rule in the Torah. So Avraham Avinu could have turned around to God and said, wait, you're telling me to get honor, but you told us in the Torah to honor parents. There's a halacha to honor parents, and you told us that we have to help other people, inspire them to that they should believe in monotheism and not be idol worshipers. It's a very difficult test. In life, that's a much more difficult test. What does God want from me really at this point? And he passes the test, because when God talks to you in prophecy, then there's no confusion. It's not a heavenly voice in the Beis Medrash that's testing you. It's prophecy, and he's saying go. So Avraham Avinu goes. That's why he passes the test. And it's a difficult test.
What's the difference between prophecy and a heavenly voice?
It's a much higher level. Baskol is I don't know what the definite English is. Prophecy is unmistakable. And Avraham Avinu passes it. That's why it's considered a more difficult test. And that's according to some of the tests of the Akedah. God says, slaughter your son. Oh, no way. No way. He doesn't really mean that. Can't possibly be. It can't possibly be. And Avraham Avinu says, yeah, God said to do it. That's what we do. And he passes the test. Okay, stops him at the last minute. But he passes the test. Number one. Then, God says to him the following. Now pay attention carefully. Ve'eschal agoy gadol, I'm going to make you into a great nation. Va'avorechecha, I'll bless you. Va'gadla shemecha, I'll make your name famous. Ve'heyei bracha, you'll be a blessing. You'll be a blessing. So what does it mean to be a blessing? So I'll tell you 2 points here. Two very interesting points. There's a medrash that says the word bracha could also be read as brecha, which is a spring, a natural spring. Now, there's a connection, by the way, I think I've mentioned to you. Do you know what the numerical value of zachar? Zachar is male. Zayin is 7, Chaf is 20, Resh is 200, 227. The numerical value of zachar is the same numerical value as bracha, blessing. How do you like that, Alicia? How do you like it? It's not, we're not bragging about this, we're just saying, we are blessing, right? We are the males. We are we are bracha. Okay. What does the word nekeva mean? Don't know? What did Bilam say when he was frustrated? His efforts to curse the Jewish people were frustrated. What did Bilam say to Balak? Ma'ekov lo kabokel. How can I curse if God hasn't cursed? Ma'ekov, nekeva, ekov. Same word, same root. And not only that, the word nekeva appears in its form, but different vowelization somewhere else in the Torah. Do you know where? Take a look at Parshas Vayetze. Oh, you're going to love this. Take a look at Parshas Vayetze at page 150. Where is it? It's later on. 1 second. It's on page. Yeah, page 158. This is where Yaakov Avinu comes to love and he's ready to leave. Yaakov Avinu, he says, I don't have anything of my own. So they makes the deal with it, with the spotted and the speckled and the mutiled, all the sheep that Yaakov Avinu is going to get. So how does this begin? Lavan says to Yaakov Avinu, Vayomar, second line on for the top on 158. Vayomar nokva schorcha olai ve'etena. Set your price and I will give it. Look at that word nokva. What is the word nokva? Nokva is the same exact letters as nekeva. Set your price. Okay. Now come back to page 54. Avraham Avinu is a brecha. A bracha is a brecha, is a overflowing well, is a male. A woman is a nekeva, nukva. Curse. What does that mean? Woman's a curse?
Nekeva is a curse?
Nukva, nekeva means female, nukva means set, ekov, which is the root of the word, is curse. Bilam wants to curse the Jewish people. Ma'ekov. Kabo. What's that? Balak says to Bilam, also a form of the word curse. But it comes in the same root as nekeva. What's the connection? What does that mean? So I've told you many times, there is nothing in the pejorative that is said in the Torah about women. The Torah does not describe, there is nothing negative. The Torah describes a tendency. Let me ask you a question. If you have a lot of money and you throw it around, is that a good thing or not a good thing? Let's say you don't have a lot of money and you throw it around. You're overly generous. Is being overly generous a good thing? No. There's a limit to generosity. As a matter of fact, the halacha is you're not even allowed to give more than a certain amount of money to tzedakah. What if you give? You're what they call in modern Hebrew large, right? You're all over the place, right? And you give away a lot more money than you should. Then you're breaking the halacha. Okay. Now, what is a brecha? A brecha is a spring. What's a bracha? When we say, if somebody says, how's business? And say, well, I've been blessed. What does he mean? He said a lot. When you ask a Jew, how's your business going? He says, well, it's okay. That means he's doing very well. If he says good, that means he's loaded. I'm going to try to downplay it. In modern Hebrew, when they want to talk about religious families that have a lot of kids, they call it mishpachot bruchot yeladim. The secular refer to as families that have been blessed with a lot of children, which apparently they don't consider such a blessing, otherwise they'd have big families too. They don't have 1.2 kids and a dog. But they call it mishpachot bruchot yeladim. We've been blessed. Blessing always represents abundance. Blessing always represents, curse is the opposite. Curse is limitation. Curse is Lavan says to Yaakov Avinu, we're not going to leave this open-ended, bro. So we're not going to leave this open-ended. Let's set a price over here. Whenever you set something, you put a limit on it, that's the nature of curse. Now let me ask you a question. In the difference between males and females, who tends to be a little bit, more delusions of grandeur, and who tends to be more with their feet set on the ground, putting a limitation on it? The male or the female? A man who holds a job for more than 3 weeks, is a miracle. And it's not uncommon for the husband to come home to the wife and say, by the way, I have an idea. I had this idea. You know, what usually happens, the husband walks into the house, the wife sees the glint in his eyes. What's going on? Oh, nothing. 10 minutes later, what's going on? As well, I was talking to my friend Shlomi, and we decided, if we take another mortgage and we pawn 3 of the children, we could go for the big one. And the wife is more likely to say, you're not taking a mortgage, we're not pawning the children, and we're not going for any big ones, just go to work tomorrow. Limitation, nekeva, you need both. What do they call it? Yin and yang? Is that yin and yang? Really? Which was it? Which one? That's yin and yang? Hey, got that one. I thought it was Cheech and Chong. Remember Cheech and Chong? Yin and yang. Yeah, I don't know about yin and yang. I only know about limitations. And men tend to be like, men are all over the place. Men are always looking around. Right? And women are, let's take, that's one of the reasons why a woman carries the baby. Because it takes 9 months of nurturing, developing, limitation. Let's keep it right over here, and let's then, men are all over, expansion. That's the word I'm looking for. A brecha is expansion. It's bracha, because generally expansion is blessing, but it's got to be controlled. That's why you need that counterbalance. You need by the way, it's not always like that. There are obviously exceptions. There are times where the woman is the one who's all over the place, and the husband has to be the counterbalance. But for the most part, men are that's why the nature of man is bracha, the nature of woman is limitation. So then it says on Avraham Avinu ve'yeh bracha. So the Medrash says you should be a brecha, a spring. He's compared to a freshwater spring. You know why? Because the Medrash says when somebody is impure, how do they become purified in Judaism? You immerse in the spring. You immerse in the water. Avraham Avinu purified people just like a spring does. He drew people to monotheism. He drew people to God. He was involved in like a well, like a spring that purifies people. Isn't that interesting? What does that tell you about Yiddishkeit? What does it tell you about if you want to interest people? If you want to draw, let's say we want to draw people close. So you see in a brecha, it tells you how to do it. Number 1, the people have to come to you. You can't take a spring to the people have to come to the spring. Meaning, obviously we sometimes have to go out to people, visit people or talk to people, go give a lecture, whatever it is. But you're not going to be successful with somebody who isn't interested. You're only going to be successful when they become interested. You have to get them interested. But you can't, people tell me all the time, what do I say to my brother who's not interested in Yiddishkeit at all? And he doesn't even want to hear about it. I said, nothing you can say to him. Nothing you can do and nothing you can say. He's not interested. He's told he's not interested. What do you want from him? My father, my brother, my mother, my dog, whoever it is. And nothing you can do. They're not interested. You can't force anybody to do something. If they ask you or they come to you or show interest, so then you have a chance. But if they've told you, hands off. That's why arguing with people about Yiddishkeit doesn't accomplish anything. They're not listening to you. They're fighting with you. What are you going to argue with them? Number 1. Number 2, imagine it's a nice hot day. It's a hot day and you see a nice spring. What do? It looks tempting. We have to make Yiddishkeit look enticing. Not change it, not tamper it, not present it, misrepresent it. But we have to show that we're good people. If we show that we're good people, people are interested. People are more connected. People get connected to Yiddishkeit, not because of what you say, but because of what you do and how you come across. You know how many times frum people in Israel have had an interaction with secular people, and a secular guy says, boy, if all the religious people were like you, if only all the religious people would be like you. And the response to that is, well, the only reason you're saying it is because you haven't met too many religious people. Most of them are like me, and they're probably better than me. You happen to read the newspapers, which picks on the few rotten apples, and it makes a big deal out of it. But if you'd meet the people one-on-one, you'd see that they're wonderful people. And that's what brings people in, like a tempting spring, number 1. Number 2, the Gemara says, ve'yeh bracha. What do we do in Shemona Esrei? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. That's how we start. How does the bracha end? Magen Avraham. Why don't we say Magen Avraham, Magen Yitzchak, Magen Yaakov? Yitzchak was also protected at the Akedah. Yaakov was protected from Esav. Why do we only say Magen Avraham? So the Gemara says, Veheye bracha. The conclusion is the bracha will be only you. Avraham Avinu is told by God, the bracha will be by you. You alone. Magen Avraham.
From here?
From here. On this pasuk. The Gemara says on this pasuk. What is this bracha referring to? I think Rashi says it. Here, look at the second line from the bottom.
In the Rashi.
But last line, right column of Rashi, last line. Yochol, he mentions Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Then Rashi says, Yochol, right column, bottom line. Yochol, you chosbin b'kulam. You might have thought we're going to conclude with all of them. Talmud lomar ve'yei bracha b'cha chosbin v'lo bahem. We're going to conclude with you and not with them. And it says, Psachim kuf yud zayin. It's quoting the Gemara. Rashi, I told you, most of when people say, well, Rashi says, 95% of what Rashi says is either coming from the Gemara or the Medrash. Rashi, the greatness of Rashi in Chumash, specifically, besides Gemara, in Chumash, was not, Rashi selected. Because on this one pasuk, you could have dozens, you could have literally dozens of different statements in the Medrash. Rashi picked certain. There are a few places where Rashi says his own, but most of the time where people say, well, Rashi says. Rashi is quoting the Chazal. He's quoting either the Gemara, he's quoting the Medrash. But I saw an unbelievable idea here. It's a phenomenal idea. Reb Shimon Schwab was the Rav in Washington Heights, of the Breuers community in Washington Heights. So Reb Schwab says like this, when we daven, we start Shemona Esrei, you say, we bow, right? Baruch atah Hashem, right? We bow at the beginning of Shemona Esrei. Now, part of the bowing is, the Gemara says when you bow, you go down like a stick. Baruch atah, you go down fast, without banging your head on the table, but be careful. And you straighten out like a snake. Like that, you bow down, then without the tune. Right? But we're supposed to straighten out like, like that. But you don't do that. We go like this and we just straighten out slowly. I don't want to see anybody looking like a cobra in shul, Put on the what do you call it? Put on the turban and then none of that, right? But we go down fast, meaning we fall. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu picks us up. Baruch atah, total submission, Hashem. We stand up at Hashem's name. Hashem picks us up. Okay. So we bow, and then we bow again. There are two missions for each Jew. We bow the first time when it's the God of Avram, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yaakov. What does that represent? That represents tradition, the Mesorah. That's the tradition. No, not that one. Tradition. No. That was an abominable movie. It was an abominable idea, which was trying to water down Judaism, and it was really by reform. If you remember the movie with Fiddler on the Roof, while I'm on the subject, I'll get this off my chest. Because the movie begins with where the first daughter breaks the tradition. Instead of going to the evil shidduch, who's Shadchan, who's an evil witch who sets up blind old men with gorgeous young girls, so she meets the guy himself, right? Which is already a break from tradition. We're breaking the tradition. The second girl gets married to the guy who there's mixed dancing at the wedding. Remember that? That's okay. Tradition. Where do they draw the line? When she wants to marry the goy. That's not where we draw the line. We draw the line all the way before the first one. We stay with the Mesorah. We stay with the way we've always done it. That's Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We are submitting to the Mesorah. We have a tradition in Judaism. That tradition is not going to be changed. That's reminder number one. That we follow the path that's been blazed for us. But then there's the second time we bow. Magen Avram. What was Avraham Avinu? Avraham Avinu was the individual against the world, where each one of us as individuals has a role to play, and we have to do what we have to do as an individual. That means, yes, we follow the tradition, but with your talents and your abilities and your tendencies, In your nature, you have to then become who you are as an individual. And we pay tribute to that as well. So there are two things. We're paying tribute to the Masorah, but then within the Masorah, within that tradition, within that path that's been already established for us, then you as the individual then become who you're supposed to become with your abilities and whatever you achieve in Avodah Hashem, just like Avraham Avinu. TBC.